Oh, yes, it is that time again. Yes, it is that time. It is time for the Sports Porch, the black and gold edition. We are live right now all over the world on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are on X. And we are on Instagram. Right now. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast. And, of course, yes, I am going to drop this podcast right after the show. That's right, the Sports Porch Podcast, right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts.
Are we on TikTok?
And we aren't on TikTok live right now, but I am working
back.
on that.
TikTok's back.
TikTok is back.
Yep.
And if you care, if you don't want to watch, you can always listen to our live internet radio station, Radio PGH. I just dropped that live link to the stream to listen on Radio PGH at radiopgh.com. What are we going to do here? We're going to talk about, well, I mean, we're actually, now I know for Hockey Jesus, and first of all, I have Hockey Jesus to my right in the studio. I have the Grant Schwabini sitting right across from me in the studio. And I, of course, am your technical director. I don't even remember where I was going with this. I'm totally distracted.
I don't know. Something about the Steelers you were probably going to say.
Oh, yes.
You know.
It is hockey season for Hockey Jesus. This is like his favorite time of year when the Steelers
only hockey
descend into mediocrity. But we are starting to go into the dead zone. So we're going to start doing some of our dead zone stuff. But tonight, we're going to talk about the Steelers, their offseason, and all the bullshit that's being thrown around right now about, rumors, coaching trades, player trades, what they got to do. And we're just going to kind of go off. I think we're just going to go off on that a little bit. We're going to go to our NFL predictions. Of course, there were some big games over the weekend. We'll talk about that. We do have a Trader Joe's snack, so we're going to have Trader Joe's snack time. I think you guys will like this one. I hope you guys like this one. This one, I think, I haven't had this one yet.
We'll find out. We'll find out. We will tell you the truth.
Yes.
And then a little bit of what we're watching. I watched something new that I think is really good. Schwaber's got one for us. What are you're working on the future seasons of Survivor or something?
No.
Because I'm so sick of it.
No, I picked up something I think you're going to really like, but it's 8 episodes and I only made it through 7.
Right.
And it has 2 seasons and this is only season 1.
Is it a documentary?
No, it's not.
Oh, all right. I like it.
Okay.
It's actually a foreign film.
Okay.
Ooh,
all right. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Now, here's what I want to do, though, first is way back when the Grand Schwabini predicted the Chiefs would go undefeated and lose the Super Bowl. Well, they
wasn't that far off.
They didn't go undefeated.
Not that far off.
They didn't go undefeated, but they may or may not lose the Super Bowl. Let's do this. Let's talk about what's going on right now in Steelers Nation.
Yeah.
And I feel like, anyway, for the first time in forever, that Steelers Nation as a whole has turned against Mike Tomlin. I mean, after the season, after that loss to the Ravens, I feel like sports radio turned on him immediately. And, and obviously the Steelers have come out and said that he's going to be back. And of course they extended him and all that kind of bullshit. But I actually think I said to you guys, I feel like the media and the fans are going to run this guy out of town. I mean, what do you guys think about what's going on with that?
Yeah, I think that for the first time, I think the fans generally and the media specifically have said, maybe Tomlin isn't that good of a coach.
Right.
And it's all because if you look at the teams who haven't won a playoff game in the last 8 years, and Mark pointed this out last week, those teams are horrendous. They're terrible. And there are some teams on that list that are actually worse than the Steelers, like the Jets, who aren't even on that list because they actually have won a playoff game.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's why you're seeing that. We've been talking about it for a while now. We know that, in order to make the Super Bowl and the standard being the standard, you actually have to win the first playoff game. And
right.
They haven't done that. So I think rightfully so, that's the direction it's going in. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody just realizes at some point you got to pull the cord. You don't even have to say that Tomlin's a bad coach. it's just a matter of the message gets stale after a period of time, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so the bottom line is it's not working.
Yeah.
And nothing's getting any better with changes all over the place. The only thing really left to change is the coach.
Let me ask you guys this. Okay. So we hear a lot about Tomlin being a player's coach, Tomlin being a defensive minded coach.
Right.
Tomlin's wordsmithing.
We
But,
hear that a lot.
You know, and I will admit that in the past I did defend him because I was known to say all the time, oh, Steelers fans are spoiled because they never have a losing season. Wouldn't it be nice? You know, cue the Beach Boys song. And listen, can you name one game of importance that the Steelers won where after the game it was, I mean, take out that there were probably some great plays, somebody had a great game, where one game where it was, wow, Tomlin really coached them to a significant win,
or Tomlin out-coached the other coach.
Can you name a game? You might be able to. I'm generally asking this question. I personally, in the 17 plus years he's been a head coach, can't remember one. And if you guys are watching and you can remember one, please comment. I'm starting to actually believe that Tomlin is not a good coach. I get, look, there will be football players, NFL players that would vehemently disagree with me. I understand the relationship side of coaching in that, you know, he's a great coach because he supports me. He helps me grow as a man, all that kind of garbage. Right. I get it. Okay. Right. But I'm sorry. He's not a great coach. And I don't know, like when the rumors came out that Chicago had called, and
they did call,
right, and they said and they shut it down right away. My first thought was, man, you've ripped them off so badly in the last couple of years. What's one more bad deal? Get 2 first-round picks for him. Yes, play him up. He sucks. I'm sorry. That's where I'm starting to fall in thinking about the past and all of these especially the last 10 years. Like, I'm sorry. I don't think he was a very good coach at all.
Well, he doesn't suck. The problem is he's mediocre. That's what he is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would include mediocre in kind of sucking, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, he's mediocre.
It was mediocre sucking.
He did well. He did well when most of the team.
Somebody's got to buy into that.
I mean, we're not. He did well when most of the team was Cowher's team.
After that pre-show,
you know.
Well, that's my point.
Right.
And Tomlin apologists and defenders want to say that, well, yeah, you know, and even I said it last week. Okay, well, he inherited Cowher's team, but he had to coach them. I feel like they almost coached themselves to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, that's like,
no, come on, that's ridiculous to say.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, well, I'm just trying to start a conversation.
Unless you're Tom Brady, you don't coach yourself to the Super Bowl, and even he needed help.
But I think the point you're making, Klein, is nobody thinks of Barry Switzer as a great coach.
Exactly.
He won with Jimmy Johnson's team.
Well,
not many people really think of Mike Seifert as a great coach.
Yeah, Bill Walsh.
He won with Bill Walsh's team. Right. So, you know, I mean, look, there's something to say for winning it, right? I mean, it's not easy to do. So obviously they brought something positive to the table. But, you know, it's completely different than, you know, assembling your own team that makes it,
which he did,
to the promised land.
He did assemble a really good team with Lev Bell and AB and Ben still in his prime, and he couldn't get to the promised land with that group.
Right.
When I think of Tomlin, I agree with you, Mark. I think that mediocrity fits the bill after you get past the Super Bowls that he won. Whether you want to attribute that to players that he already had, I'm not gonna mince words over that. But here's the thing that always gets me about Tomlin, and I think this about most good teams, by the way. It's about their style of play, and his style of play has always been. It's like there's no risk. He's never been a risk guy. He always wants to mitigate the things that can go bad. And when that happens, you're not going for the gusto. You're not going for the juggernaut. You're not going to say, I'm going to wipe out this team. We're going to go out there and we're going to score 45 friggin' points, and we're going to be the better team because we're going to score a lot more points than you, not just enough points. With Tomlin, it's always, all we got to do is score one more point than them. All we have to do is get to the playoffs, and then, the magic can happen. Well, the magic hasn't happened. And I think that's what I feel when I think of Tomlin. The other thing about Tomlin is he has never had any defensive or offensive coordinators who would do anything but that. Be average. Don't run a scheme that's going to be risky. Don't run a scheme where we're going to score real fast and we're going to score a lot of points. He always wants to play this slowed down version of a game that needs to be played fast. That being said, think about the teams that are left and the teams that won this past weekend. What do they have? They have a running mobile quarterback, but only Jaden Daniels threw for over 200 yards. All the other three winning quarterbacks didn't make mistakes and threw somewhere between 120 and 190 yards. So I think he's actually might be onto something. I think there is this new trend towards the big running back plays and managing the game. The problem is he doesn't have the right personnel. And
right.
that's the problem. It seems like he might have the right philosophy. I don't think so. I think you need to have a team that, when they need to, can go out there and throw it for 250, 325 yards. But if they can, and the situation dictates, just manage the game. And that's sometimes good enough to propel you on. But you have to have both. With Tomlin, it's just managing the game, and that's it.
So Mike Lawrence says, does Tomlin have too much control calling plays on both sides of the ball? And then OC on Instagram, who I can't bring their comments up on our platform here, so I cut and paste. Does Tomlin call plays? I thought he was a, quote, CEO head coach.
Yeah. OC's got it right. But Tomlin does have a lot of control over who gets drafted. He has a lot of control over who the offensive and defensive coordinators are, and he hires people who are mediocre. Look, they had the chance to go get Kingsbury, who's now lighting it up with Washington.
Kingsbury, right.
Yeah. Arizona's head coach. But they didn't. They decided to get Arthur Smith instead. That's the kind of choices he gets to make as head coach. And that's why I say he always goes the risk-averse way, and it's just do good enough.
So going back to the original point I was making is that, the fan base seems to be turning against Tomlin en masse. And I'm starting to rethink my thought process on what kind of head coach he is. And I'm sorry, I think he's terrible. I just do. I think he's terrible. I think the decisions that have been made about drafting are terrible. I think the decisions that have made about offensive line have been terrible. I think the quarterback situation that they're in right now is terrible. I don't know what other word to come up with. I mean, the Russ Wilson or Justin Fields. I mean, listen, guys, you're out there, you're watching the show, you're listening to it, you're listening to sports radio. Can you look yourself in the mirror and say there's anything good for real about being in a position where we may have to choose from either re-signing Russell Wilson to a fairly expensive contract, not a world beater, but a fairly expensive contract, or trying to overpay Justin Fields, who I almost said Justin Wilson, Justin Fields, who has failed as a starting quarterback. He has 30 starts plus under his belt. And I know, Chicago sucks. They can't turn quarterbacks around. He came here and he got a little better. Listen, you know what you have with him. You have a guy who has a lot of speed, but he can't throw the ball worth shit. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, you don't have any receivers. George Pickens is not a receiver, and I will take credit for saying 2 years ago that the guy sucked.
George Pickens is not a receiver.
The guy
you actually said that.
Steve, think about this, HJ. He's the leading receiver on the Steelers, and he had like 57 catches.
I know.
Okay.
But that's the
he's
offense
nothing.
they run.
He's nothing but a headache and a distraction. Yes, he's a receiver.
He's a talent.
When he hands out his fucking business card, it says George Pickens, diva receiver. I get it, but they are this franchise is not in good shape. Not in good shape at all. I'm just telling you, like I'm calling it like I see it. I mean, I don't want. I want them to win the Super Bowl. But they have to move on from their head coach. They have to move on from this management situation that inspires mediocrity. There's a new Tomlinism for you. This week we're going to inspire mediocrity. That's what he should say.
I hate to say it, but you should never try to lose.
Right.
But they do need to hire a new coach and lose so that they can eventually get a franchise quarterback.
Absolutely. And John on YouTube is back. Thanks for being back, John. As I watch the playoff teams, I feel like a beauty pageant judge who's married to an ugly chick. Very nice. And truth serum tonight. Thank you very much. Keep going, Schwab.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that we were talking about earlier is that, what the Washington Commanders are doing this year.
God bless them.
It's pretty unbelievable.
Yes. Marvin?
Essentially what the Commanders are doing now, a lot is to be determined, but look, the Commanders are in the Final Four. They win 2 games. They're Super Bowl champions. They could be doing it with a rookie quarterback. They were 4-12 last year, had the second pick in the draft, brought in all new coordinators, a new head coach, and a new quarterback. And guess what? It was a 1-year plan.
Right. So it can be done.
It can happen that quickly.
And the Eagles did it. We talked about this on the earlier show.
The Eagles did it in 2 years.
Yep.
They went 4-12 with Reed, moved on from him, great coach, brought in
Chip Kelly,
then went to Doug Peterson. And, and then drafted Carson Wentz, number 2 pick. He did great and then got hurt. And then Foles finished the deal. It was 2 years with Doug Peterson.
Yeah, but you guys are talking like the Steelers haven't tried this. They actually did draft the quarterback in the first round. They just failed with him. So the problem. Well, hear me out.
Okay,
hear me out.
Go ahead.
Hear me out. And that set them back. Because that's what happens when you pick a quarterback who you think is the guy and you do it in the first round and you fail with that, you lose 3 years. And that's what happened to the Steelers. So this year they had to adjust. And I hate to tell you this, but the Steelers do have their quarterback of the future. It is going to be Justin Fields. The way Tomlin talked in the press conference, I listened to every word. He said, I want a mobile quarterback. And he wants somebody who's already in the system. And that ain't Russell Wilson.
Right.
So they're definitely going to sign, you heard it here first, they're definitely going to sign Justin Fields to probably a 3-year between $55 and $65 million contract. And hopefully it'll have some incentives in it so that he can get better. And your point about Fields being a loser, he was not a loser with the Steelers this season.
No, he wasn't.
He was a loser with the Bears, but does that mean I think he can take us to the Super Bowl? I don't think so, but I do know one thing. He's better than Kenny Pickett.
Well, that's the point you make about they drafted who they thought was going to be the guy. Right there is the crux of the issue. There was no other team, general manager, scout, anybody in the entire professional football universe who thought that Kenny Pickett should be a first-round draft pick.
Here's
I only jumped on that bandwagon because I fell in love with Kenny Pickett and his hair.
Well,
that was it.
It's true.
Well, here's what you're missing with that. There's a difference between a top 5 pick and a pick at 20.
That's true. That's also true.
That there's a big difference.
Where
right?
did the Commanders get Jaden Daniels?
2.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, right.
So they have to tank.
And Caleb Williams was 1, right?
Yeah. Right. So they have to tank.
But that's not
and
going
Tomlin's
to
not going to let that happen.
That's the problem they have. So they have to do things like get creative with guys like has-beens. Hey, Minnesota did it. Minnesota did it with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
There's no saying that the Steelers can't do it.
I mean, I will say this.
But
I
do
Mahomes was number 10, by the way.
I do believe
Yep.
I do believe that the Steelers are going to have to change things offensively in a big way, and that's where I think they failed. You are right, and it's on Tomlin picking Kenny Pickett as early as he did because he was a familiar face, and
Right.
they saw him around, and he liked his leadership capabilities,
which he was wrong on.
F that.
Yeah.
We need a guy with a strong arm, quick legs, and a smart mind.
Yeah.
That's what you need in the quarterback position.
Not small hands.
Not somebody who's familiar and you've seen him grow up the past 4 years.
Yeah, the thing is, Justin Fields is not that guy. I mean, he's fast.
He's better than
he doesn't know how to read defenses, and by now he should know how to do that.
I wouldn't say this entirely though. Like, actually, what's kind of funny is on one hand, I would say that the move to go to Russell Wilson was a good move because they played better, and Russell Wilson did play at a really high level up until they ran up against the gauntlet.
Yeah, the good teams.
But I will say this in retrospect, it's kind of a shame. I feel like by doing that, they kind of wasted a year of development for Justin Fields.
Well, I think he was developing behind the scenes.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's not like he did nothing.
And that's why they probably want to keep Arthur Smith because now he doesn't have to learn a new offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Justin Fields, I mean, let me put it this way. I don't think it's over for him. I mean, do I think he's going to win a Super Bowl? No. Do I think he's going to become a great quarterback? Pretty doubtful.
No.
But I would say it's not completely out of the question yet.
Right.
It's not completely over for him.
Right. And Amy May says, I wanted them to keep Fields and not go to Wilson. Now, I did hear out there today that like Adam Schefter or Dan Graziano were reporting that it's a rumor, but these are insider rumors that the Steelers are talking to Russell Wilson about a 3-year deal worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million. So
that's not happening.
I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just saying
I don't believe
that
those guys at all.
I don't know. I don't know. John says find the right innovative offensive coordinator. Let him find his QB, build skills players that fit the QB style. Burrow and Chase work for a reason. Marvin says they didn't look any better with Russell. I disagree. I mean, that's the thing. Look, Tomlin's time is up. That's the way I feel. I don't think there's anything they can do other than tanking and rebooting. And we've already talked about the fact that Tomlin's not going to let that happen.
No.
But
that was the other thing he mentioned in his press conference. Oh, I'm up to the battle. I'm ready to go. Like, I want to dig into this a little bit more, and that's what I'll be doing in the postseason. And we'll be getting draft picks. He was already in next year's mode. Like he's already said, like, I feel like I still have it. He was 100% saying, I still want to coach.
Yeah, well, he looks like he doesn't care on the sidelines, and he's about ready to cry every single freaking game. I mean, there's absolutely no emotion involved in the way he coaches, and I have no faith in him drafting. And, let's move on to this. How many holes does this team need to fill now? Okay, you've got an aging defense.
Well,
you've got an offensive line that a couple of the guys are playing out of position.
It's not an aging defense.
Watt's 30.
That he's one guy, and they've already gotten 2 pass rushers in the past 2 years who are just as good as him.
I disagree. I don't think they're just as good. I don't think they're just as good.
Yeah, they are.
They're good because he's been good.
No, I don't believe that.
Do you think Herbig is as good as TJ Watt?
No,
do you think Highsmith,
Peyton Wilson?
This was his rookie year.
I know he was good.
He was good, but he wasn't TJ Watt good. I don't think so.
Right.
But he is TJ Watt good now.
I don't know. What do you guys think out there? I don't know.
No, I don't.
I think TJ's coming down on the scale.
Well,
and they have made picks to keep their defense young. I mean, I disagree with that. That the thing that's getting old is their defensive line. Their interior defensive line definitely needs to have some youth infused into the defensive line. I agree with you there. The defensive backs aren't old. I mean, they got rid of that guy that they got from Cleveland. I don't even remember Hayden, because he was too old. They got rid of him. So they're getting younger there. Yeah, but they drafted JP Jr. 2 years ago,
who seemed to have regressed this year.
I mean, he didn't have as great of a year, but he wasn't a bum.
Official Chris Chada on Instagram. I put it up here under YouTube. If you think about it, coaches and GMs get fired for whiffing on QBs that are high picks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Marvin says the offensive line coach needs to be fired. I think he's close. And how many times did Russell Wilson get sacked? Pat Off Track is back with us on YouTube. NFL ballers don't tank, Chris, he says. So I don't know. In the coming weeks, we will continue to have this argument. But I am 100% against Mike Tomlin being the coach of this team. Every time I listen to, and I didn't listen to his press, I listened to, I think, about the first 5 minutes, then I had to turn it off. But every time I listen to his press conference now, I feel like he's just stringing a whole bunch of these words. You know what I think? I feel like he's a snake oil salesman now.
It's like a bunch of nonsense.
It's a snake. He's a snake oil salesman.
But he's been this way for over 10 years now. So yeah. I think that may be what's grinding on you, Chris. Is the fact that he's saying these things and he's not getting results. To me, I think that's where the rub comes in. And as far as getting rid of him, we've had this talk before. I hate having this talk over and over and over.
I know it gets
again.
old.
It's not going to happen.
Rooney's not getting rid of him, so either Rooney's got to go or Tomlin stays.
Well, you know Rooney's not going.
Well, I mean, he's got to hand the reins down to the next Rooney in charge.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
right now.
I mean, that's what's gonna have to happen in order for the Steelers to make a change at quarterback, because he isn't going to do it. I can tell you.
Okay, so next week, let's do the keep him or sign. Keep him sign.
By the way, Marvin agrees with me that Nick is very close to TJ. Thank you, Marvin.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. We'll see when TJ's no longer there. Potentially,
he's definitely not. He's a good situational pass rusher.
Right. But he's not TJ Watt.
No, I don't even know if he's a starter.
I agree. So subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's starting to grow at the Sports Porch Podcast on YouTube. You can catch us every Monday night at 7:30 live. And you can always subscribe to the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. Marvin says Mike Tomlin should have been a rapper. And right now we're gonna jump on something a little early here. As my beautiful, lovely wife, the Pittsburgh property diva, Lauren Klein. You can find her at pittsburghpropertydiva.com if you're buying or selling real estate anywhere in the Pittsburgh area. Check out her Zillow reviews. Trust me, she is the best real estate agent you will ever experience.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. And that's some truth right there. But what we got right now, what she did for us is she prepared our Trader Joe's snack of the day.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Join in. Yeah. Taste that honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with that honey sauce. You get that honey sauce on me. I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
There you have it. This is Trader Joe's snack time. And what does that mean? Well, as everybody knows, if you watch the show or listen to it on a regular basis, I work at Trader Joe's down at East Liberty. It's a great place to work. It's a great store. Love the people, love the food. And they did not pay us for this, so this is not a paid sponsorship, but they did give me permission to do it. So what I do is every week I bring home a Trader Joe's dish or food or snack or something. We try it. We talk about it. We give our honest opinion. Since they're not paying us, if we don't like it, we're going to say we don't like it.
That's right.
So anyway, this week,
even if they were paying us, we would still.
Yeah, we actually would, and they wouldn't care because they would rather know if something sucked. Right? If it sucks, it sucks. This week we are having pizza Parlano. Now, here's one thing I got to tell you guys.
What kind of name is Parlano?
I don't know. Look it up. This
Parlano.
It has like sausage and pepperoni. I
call that Supreme.
they're whatever you want to call it. You can call it whatever you want. Their pizza, their frozen pizzas are actually outstanding.
I know you keep talking about.
They're out. I have not had this one. I've been anxious to have it. Schwaber, here you go.
Pizza Parlana coming through.
Just take a piece. Take a piece. He's going to grab the whole plate.
Well, of course he is. He's a hungry boy.
And here's a napkin for you.
Thank you.
There you go, Steve.
Hey, as we're passing around the pizza, I do have to mention what Marvin said.
Yeah, go for it.
That Marvin said that sign Aaron Rodgers, he'll get Mike fired. I think that's a brilliant idea.
That's a great. There's a napkin for you, bud.
I don't need a napkin.
Yes, you do.
I'm everything that falls down, Sassy's going to get anyway.
That is true.
I like it.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, it's good.
It is interesting, though. Aaron Rodgers is going to be out there. And if you get Devontae Adams with him, you can see how well the Jets did.
Yeah, I mean, no. And then we'll get our number 2 pick.
No, we can't get that lucky. The Steelers are never going to have a number 2 pick. You realize that, right?
Are you writing this down, Schwaber? The Steelers are never. Sassy, get down. Get down. Get down. Our mascot, Sassy's trying to punk some
getting attacked by a dog.
From, I don't know about that.
Oh, come on, Amy. You would love Aaron Rodgers if he wore.
Put the comment up if you see it.
Oh, yeah. Here you go. Here it is. Amy says, I hate Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really like him either.
Nobody really likes him. No. But, I mean, he threw for what? 3,500 yards last year.
Here's the thing, though. I don't like Aaron Rodgers as like the football player who's got all these political opinions and everything, but I think I would hang out with him.
Yeah, he's kind of like up your alley.
Yeah, I would definitely hang out with him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
What is up my alley?
He's a big conspiracy theorist.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't think the Steelers are going to go after Aaron Rodgers because he's no longer a mobile quarterback. And definitely the thing that Mike Tomlin said was he's getting the mobile quarterback. So I don't know if that means he's going to draft somebody. I think it'll be interesting to see if the Steelers actually do draft a quarterback.
I would hate that.
I mean, they are too low to get a good quarterback, but they've been known to do that before, like first, second round quarterback picks.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not first round. Let's face it. They need much bigger things in the first round.
Well, that's the thing, and I think
defensive tackle.
And maybe next week or in the coming weeks, we'll talk about after we talk about who they should let go of and who they should keep. We'll talk about who they should draft. Maybe we'll have the counselor on because he likes to break the draft down.
He loves to talk about defensive and offensive linemen in the draft and their footwork. we were watching
how they play in the phone booth.
We were watching the playoff. We were watching the playoff games, and that's all you could talk about, like how the footwork is so important, and whether you're playing a left or a right side. He ain't wrong, by the way. It does make a difference what side of the line you're on, and your footwork's completely different, which is why I think they botched the whole Broderick Jones thing.
Right.
So while we finish up our Trader Joe's snack time, Mike Lawrence says Aaron Rodgers is a lying jerk. Marvin Hamilton says, me either. He's cooked like Russell Wilson. And John on YouTube, the O-line doesn't need any more 10-man QBs. Couldn't agree with you more. So, okay, guys, Pizza Parlano from Trader Joe's. What are you going to give it? You giving it a thumbs up?
Big thumbs up.
Big thumbs up. Pizza Parlano. How about you?
It's average.
Oh, God.
I really like it.
I'm giving it
I want one more piece right now.
Yeah. Well,
is there one more to have?
There is.
I don't know. It's just average for me. I don't.
Go ahead. You can that little piece there is mine. You can have that whole piece.
There's nothing really special about it.
I think
the sauce is kind of plain.
It's 2.
Is it 2?
Yeah.
Okay. You might have to rip it apart.
Look, it's a little saggy. You know.
My God,
a little saggy.
I think Steve's just mad because we came at him with the Steelers today. That's not the
Steelers.
That's the wrong music.
You know me. I'm ready to defend the Steelers anytime.
Can I have my piece? My little piece.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
I got it. There you go.
Yeah. That honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit and that honey sauce.
That's right.
Put that honey sauce on me.
I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
Trader Joe's snack time, a winner for me and Mark, not so much for Steve.
That's what I was going for, Pat. I was going for the barstool pizza treatment.
Steve is Thanks
for noticing, Pat.
He didn't
Appreciate
say good undercarriage. We can put a man on the moon, but we can't make a kick-ass frozen pizza. Yes, we can, John. Go down to your local Trader Joe's, get the uncured pepperoni pizza, get the chicken barbecue pizza. Trust me when I tell you that. Now, are they like fresh made pizzas you'd get at like Slice in New York here in Monroeville, Murraysville area? No. But are they the bomb for frozen pizzas? Absolutely. They taste incredible. Chris, you have to get the extra pieces before Mark.
Too late, Amy. Too late.
Okay, this is the Sports Porch, the Black and Gold edition, live all over the world every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram. And of course, I'm going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast or go on over to YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast. Subscribe there. We're putting out a bunch of shorts on YouTube. We're putting out a bunch of reels on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. We're going to integrate TikTok into this show in the coming weeks. I just have to get the technology sorted out. And I'm old, so sometimes it takes a little bit to get that done. All right.
Speaking of technology, I was fixing my dryer the other day.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I had the whole thing apart. I thought I had the right part. I put it back together. Let's just put it this way. Dryer 1, HJ 0.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I get to his house and he goes, let me take you downstairs and show you my project.
My new project. Yeah.
I was like, all right. I go down there and he's like, look at my dryer. It's a box with parts everywhere. Well, and I'm like, why don't you just buy a new dryer? It didn't have
the front or the top.
Whatever.
Because it's a gas dryer. I had to get to the guts of it, which everybody knows if you've worked on dryers, they're at the bottom.
I know that because I've worked on dryers.
Is this a new dryer or an old dryer?
No, it's an old dryer that suddenly the heat was no longer working.
And they were drying their clothes for like 3 weeks with no heat.
No, that's not true. There was little heat. It just took, you know how it works. It takes an hour to go through, to dry your clothes. And you're like, something's wrong with this thing.
Okay, listen, OC on Instagram. This will be the last thing we talk about on this. And then we're going to move on to our NFL predictions and game talk for these championship games. He says, and this is an easy answer, I think. Could the Steelers do what the Commanders did, force the owner to sell, turn the on-field product into a dumpster fire, then stumble upon a legit elite QB pick, and the rest is history? The answer is no. And the reason they can't is because Daniel Snyder gave the NFL and the world every single reason to force him out. He did things that were illegal. He did things that were narcissistic. He had a culture that was absolutely horrible. And I'm not a culture guy, but he was just a nasty, horrible, terrible human being who destroyed a proud franchise. And that's me being a recovering Redskins fan who is now conflicted because the Commanders are so good. I don't know if I should root for them or not. It's really hard. And we can go into the psychology of that some other day if you want to. So for all intents and purposes, I don't think that Art Rooney II is anywhere close to what Daniel Snyder was. I have a feeling, I've never met the man. I've heard him speak very infrequently, but I have a feeling he's probably a pretty nice guy, a pretty solid dude, takes care of the people around him. And for all intents and purposes, the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise it's a model franchise in the NFL. They do things the right way. The Rooney Rule is part of that. So no, you're not going to force that owner out for any way, shape, or form. And I don't think they should. But they do need to rethink how they're running football operations from the standpoint of what kind of team are we putting on the field and what kind of offense, defense, because they're behind the times. And that's all I have to say about that. You guys want to add anything more before we go to predictions?
I think you nailed it.
All right. Thank you. Schwaber.
You nailed it.
He's still chewing on my piece of pizza. All right. As of right now, NFL playoff predictions after the Vikings-Rams game, where I picked the Vikings and Mark and Steve picked the Rams. This past week, we all picked the Chiefs. I was the lone Commanders holdout, and we all picked the Ravens. Mark is now 7-3. Chris,
3-1. We all went 3-1.
No, you were 2-2, buddy.
Oh,
you were 2-2. You picked. Wait a minute. What is my problem here?
You can't add. We already know this.
The one time you really questioned me, you had to come back and say, you were wrong. I was, we were 1-0. Then I was 2-0 and you were both 1-1. Then I was 2-1, and you were both 1-2, right? And I was 3-1, right? I'm 3-1, and you both were 2-2.
Gotcha.
So Mark is 7-3. I'm 6-4. Steve is 5-5. So this Sunday at 3 p.m., Commanders at the Eagles. Mark and I have been friends for 35 years, and we were bitter enemies for time during football season in college when the Redskins and the Eagles were going at it. And that was fun. Looking back on it, wasn't fun then. It was actually kind of fun.
It was fun at times.
Yeah, but there were times where I really wanted to choke you in your sleep and then,
right,
drink green beer and pee it all.
You're violent.
Yeah, I am. And but now, after 30 plus years of not being in the playoff or in the championship game, the Commanders are back in the championship game, first time since 1991. It happens to be against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to who we think our picks are going to be. Schwaber, Grant Schwabini, go ahead. Actually, it's supposed to be me because I won this week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be me.
Okay.
And we're going to do that. And I'm making this pick because Mark Schwab declined my invitation to come down to my house and watch this game with me because he's so afraid Chris is going with the Commanders. Look at him. It's like back to college, back to the future.
I'm going to take the Eagles. I think it'll be close. But I think the Eagles will squeak it out.
All righty.
I can't say a tie because they can't tie.
No, they can't. There's no ties.
Yep.
It's not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I go with the green team.
All right. Steve's going with the Eagles. Bills at Chiefs. I was gonna go down the line of what do you think the keys to that game are, but we're at 43 minutes in it. Yeah. Let's just do Bills at Chiefs. This one is a 6:30 game. I'm going with the Bills. I picked them in our earlier show in Philly. I'm gonna be consistent. This is something where I say the Bills, and you guys brought up some really good points that are true. Kansas City has more real weapons. They have Patrick Mahomes, and the defense is now the strength of their team. They've been there before. They're playing at home. I get it. My gut feeling is telling me that they're going to have to stumble at some point. And if the Bills don't do it this year, I don't think they're going to do it with Josh Allen. That's my opinion. My gut is just saying the Bills.
Why? You think Burrow's going to come back?
This has nothing to do with that bum.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing him properly.
You're right. So
against my better judgment, I'll go with the Bills. I just sort of, it's more a feeling than anything else. The Chiefs have just sort of been playing with these games. And, the other thing too is there's been so much talk about the preferential treatment of Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
That I sort of feel like that sets things up for maybe even going the other way.
Could be.
Well,
it's also been almost obvious.
Right.
Like nobody wants to say that nobody wants to say with any feeling behind it that there's a conspiracy in the NFL and that they script things. Nobody wants to come out and really say that. And do we really believe that? No, not really.
I do.
How do you?
Oh yeah. 100%. Really? Yeah. Absolutely do.
That it's scripted?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
no, not scripted. You can't write injuries and stuff like that into the game. But what you can do is you can tell the referees, look, this is a game that we want to be favorable to the Chiefs.
Right. Okay.
So anything that's borderline, whether it's a pass interference penalty, whether it's a roughing the passer, anything in the gray area, goes the Chiefs' way. I guarantee you they are telling the referees this. I 100% am sure of this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's not like an all-out conspiracy because you still can, like what has to happen is like the Bills have to play a perfect game. If they play a perfect game, conspiracy doesn't matter.
That's right.
But, if it's close and there's going to be a few calls that could really make a difference, that's where I think there's sort of like a wink, wink, nod, nod. Mm-hmm. You know what we want.
Yeah, and
I don't even think it's a wink, wink, nod.
No.
I think they're told specifically on how to referee the game.
Yeah, and to further that point, these calls do seem to come at pivotal moments in the game.
Keep in mind,
Yeah.
the NFL is an entertainment league. It's not.
Right. It's a business.
It's right. It's a business. They can run it however they want. They're allowed to do that with the referees. They have bamboozled us into thinking that the referees are impartial. They are far from impartial.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm taking the Chiefs.
There you go. All that to get to the Chiefs. Okay, Steve takes the Chiefs. Excellent. Pat Off Track says, thanks for the jinx, Chris and Mark. Well, Pat, I mean, if you think at this stage in your life that Mark and I are the reason for your jinx, maybe you should go back to
We
that
have
rum and
very
Coke.
little to do with what will happen for the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, I agree.
Very little.
I agree.
Maybe like 0.0000001.
Okay, maybe you add another
Less.
zero to that.
Yeah.
Even less than that.
Yes.
Times a trillion.
Times a trillion. Infinity no takebacks.
Right.
Subscribe to us on YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast. Help us grow that channel. Help us get the truth out there. Help us have even more fun.
Right
Doug
on,
Bus.
Dougie P.
Doug P. NFL listed as sports entertainment, just like WWE. Listen, I you're not going to get a disagreement out of me.
I know you love a good conspiracy.
Yeah.
I do. The thing about the NFL is that I don't want a conspiracy there. I want
know.
to believe that everything I'm watching is as if I'm playing, as if it's backyard football and anything could happen.
And you know what I want to believe? I want to believe that the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to win the rest of their games.
You know what
yeah.
I believe? I believe in Santa Claus.
Right.
There you go.
And there it is. Speaking of Pittsburgh
And the
Penguins
Tooth Fairy.
winning the rest of their games, we do have a celebrity in the house here. To my left, in the studio is Hockey Jesus, who preaches on the podcast after every single Penguins game. Again, YouTube, the Sports Porch Podcast. Hockey Jesus comes in, he gives you the truth, he tells you like it is. OC wants to know if Ladbrokes still exists. Just wondering. I don't think it does. Ladbrokes is gone. That was a betting place.
yeah.
I think they're gone.
Washington, right? I think they
Yeah.
replaced it with the casino down in Washington.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, Hockey Jesus, your disciples are here and they want to know what's up with the Penguins. Of course, if you go back to the Sports Porch Podcast on YouTube or on the iHeartRadio app and listen to his little 10, 15-minute blurbs after every game, you'll know what we all know right now. Tristan Jarry he's down with the baby pens?
Yep.
Yep.
He had to get a sign down there.
Yep.
He cleared waivers
Because nobody wanted
wants him.
Yep. So
And that's where he is, and that's where he'll stay.
preach, HJ, preach.
I mean, it's a good move for the Penguins. Basically, they're signaling by doing that they're bringing up Bloomquist, who is a better goalie. But the reality is, between the last time we talked on this show, the Pens went 1-2, and they're not getting anywhere when you go 1-2. In fact, they have to win their next 5 games in a row just to become relevant in the conversation of being in the playoffs. So the chances of that happening are 0. Guys, do you remember Hell Week?
Yeah.
In college?
Yes.
You rem-
Bad week.
I think we all got married.
some of us did get married. That is true.
Yeah.
No, that was just you.
I didn't get married. He got married.
Oh.
No, I
or
didn't.
was it me?
No, I think Schwab got married.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I didn't
To
get
Rob
married.
Pioso.
Oh my God. He got.
What?
That's right. Schwab got married to
He
Rob,
did.
Rob Pioso.
He
Remember
did.
him?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that happened.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It was a lovely ceremony.
this week is like Hell Week for me because the Pittsburgh Penguins are on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So that means tonight after this game, I have to go home and take at least an hour nap to wake up to watch them play the Los Angeles Kings at 10:30.
That's what happens when you're the Lord and Savior of all hockey.
And then on Thursday, they play the Ducks. That's a 10 o'clock start. The good thing is the away game in Seattle on Saturday, it's a 4 o'clock start. So I get to, and there's no football. So that's good. I got an afternoon to watch some hockey. And then once again, next week is also Hell Week minor because they're only in San Jose and Utah. The Penguins are in deep trouble. They're trying to talk themselves into thinking that they can be relevant in the playoff chase, but they're just not. And they're not going to be. So the reality is they've got those 5 games. They got 4 more after that. In the next 9 games, if they don't go 7-2, they're done. They're absolutely done. And when they don't, then they have to make decisions about what they're going to be doing about Peterson and what they're going to do about probably Raquel. Those are the 2 big names that they can deal to get more picks, and that's what they need to do. But it'll be interesting to see if they get Raquel. They definitely are going to get rid of Pedersen.
What happened, Hockey Jesus? Because they were playing some good puck for a while.
Well, they're not good enough to continue down that path.
Gotcha.
That's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
And their goalie situation really did them in. Like, I think if they would have brought up left Bloomquist in all season, when they reassigned Jari down to the minors earlier in the season, and they did okay. If they would have just let Bloomquist continue here, I think he would be in much better shape. But I get why they didn't. They wanted to give Jari a fair shot because they put a lot of money into this guy. But the guy is just done. He's never going to be a goalie in the NHL again. This is what happens. How many goalies have you seen come up that are really good for a season and then they're just out of the league in 2 years?
Yeah,
that's why the contract signing by Dubas doesn't make sense. But there was a really good article today in The Athletic. I don't know if anybody subscribes to it. You should read it because it talks about their farm system and how they're actually starting to get some good talent down there. That Kovanen that they got in the trade for Gensel, he's looking like a guy they need to bring up. They have to bring these guys up. And if they don't bring them up, then they're just going to waste this season away. And look, the only thing you could do is hope that Sid gets to his point per game thing. That's probably the most important thing, unfortunately, because then he breaks Gretzky's record. It's not like the record that Ovechkin's going to do when he breaks Gretzky's record. But that's all you have to look forward to with the Penguins this year. I'm sorry, it's kind of a dead year, but that's the way it happens. So.
Yes, but we're going to still hear Hockey Jesus after every Penguins game. Right?
Oh yeah, I'm committed to the end.
Oh, by the way,
I love the studio.
Did you hear?
Sensational job with the teleprompter.
You like it?
With following with the arrow. That was really good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you like that. And I love doing the video.
I think you got like 145 likes on that too.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna do more of that. In fact, I had one teed up before the playoffs game yesterday.
Yeah,
I had 3 videos teed up, and then football started.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I tee up those videos, I do it off of Sportsnet. Sportsnet, actually, the app, when you're watching them live, is really kind of frustrating. But the recordings of the game, they're really good. The recordings that you do, so I can get to that spot on the video right away. But I tee up 3 videos so I can do them live. I like that better than just playing the video on the podcast because I can be in the little window beside it and I can still talk. So I think that works out a lot better. But thanks. Yeah, I really enjoy that. Yeah.
You got to come down to Hockey Jesus's house and see this studio he set up. He's starting to get like studio like. Yeah, it's awesome.
I got a nice boom for my mic.
Yeah, he's
that because I was doing the whole handed in because it was garbage. But now that I got that, I can do the video and I got the screen up here. It's good.
He's going pro, Schwammer. He's going pro. I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
All right, you can follow Hockey Jesus at the Sports Podcast on YouTube, and of course, catch his podcast right after every single Penguins game on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcast.
Did you put up Amy's?
I did.
Comment?
Amy May says, I do not know this story. Chris and Steve, you must tell me. I thought Mark married me.
Well, you're
telling me
second.
No, there is no story. I don't know what the hell these guys are talking about.
You're telling me you never divorced Rob Pioso?
I don't have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know what's wrong with
unless
this
you're
guy.
telling me something happened when I was completely drunk and I've blacked out and have no recollection.
It was Hell Week. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell you're talking
All I know
about.
is I went downstairs. For those of you, we were all in the same fraternity, which will remain nameless for legal reasons. And we pledged together in Drexel University, and Hell Week back then was not like Hell Weeks they are now. I think it was probably not as bad as they are now, but they were fun. Actually,
they were fun. We had fun with it.
I think they were probably a lot lot
they might have been
during our time.
Maybe they were.
No,
you want to know what?
They don't even pledge anymore.
Yeah,
they don't.
No,
really?
Scott was telling me, Ben pledged.
Yeah,
and basically they said, "Oh, you're a pledge. Okay, you're in."
Oh, that sucks.
That's literally pretty
right.
Anyway, all I know is it was one of those classic Hell Week night. Like Hell Week is the week before you're going to be confirmed as a brother in the house,
which you don't know,
which you're not sure of because they play mind games with you,
and it's also like the week before finals,
and the weekend. It's also the week before finals, so it involves a lot of misbehaving, so to speak, but some of it is actually really funny. And I just remember one night I had to go downstairs and have drinks and in the basement of the fraternity, and our pledge class was upstairs, and they took us down one by one, and they asked us questions down there about the history of the fraternity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I came upstairs, they had everybody lined up as if there were best men and bridesmaids, and one by one the pledges were getting married. There was a brother standing there, and then you were marrying a pledge, and you were marrying Rob Pioso.
No, I think that you were intoxicated.
That's
severely.
how I remember it. That's how I remember.
And he saw the same thing.
Yeah.
You were intoxicated severely. You have no idea what
I was definitely intoxicated severely.
And I could have been hallucinating.
I would have remembered that. There's a lot that I remember from Hell Week. I do not have any recollection of that.
You were probably intoxicated severely as well. This was very late at night.
I don't know what's wrong with you. The only time I remember being in a line was for the fish heads, roly-poly fish heads.
Yeah,
I remember that too.
Yeah. Anyway, Frank Fennell says redundant. I don't know what that means.
I don't know, Frank. Sorry about that. We're trying to not be redundant.
Amy says, I believe Stephen Chris.
It's okay, Amy. You're his true love.
She's going to be
terrible,
like, Mark,
Amy.
did you really marry somebody before you married me? Why didn't you get a divorce from him?
She does not talk like that.
It wasn't
like
an
my
official
mother.
marriage.
She does not talk like that. Okay, last part of the show tonight. Let's have the Grand Schwabini describe this and tell us what it is, because it's called What We're Watching.
What we're watching. How can we help you? Well, I can tell you how we'll help you. We'll help you by giving you things that you should watch, things that you shouldn't watch.
Absolutely not.
Why? Because we love you. We care about you.
We do.
We don't want to waste.
There's so many choices.
Yeah.
Apple TV, Plus, Hulu,
Netflix,
HBO Max,
Hulu Plus,
Hulu Plus Plus. I mean, bottom line is you could spend the whole night trying to figure out what to watch.
Yep.
So we will help you. Just listen to the show and you never have to surf again.
You go right to the show.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Schraber. The only qualification is that you have to have finished the season that you are in.
That's right.
So even if the show has 10 seasons, if you finish season 3, you can give a review up to that point. You can't be in the middle of a season. And if you're watching a 1-episode documentary or a movie, if you walk out of it or turn it off, you can't give a review and say it sucked because you didn't finish it.
Correct.
So this week, I love this, Schwab. I'm right there with you. Mark watched.
Did you watch it?
I have completed it. Yes.
You completed
season 2.
Yes, I have.
I've seen season 1, so I'm in on this.
I almost reviewed that for tonight, but then
you saw mine.
I didn't see yours. But I thought to myself, I bet he's already watched it. So I watched something else. Anyway, what is it? For those listening, what is it?
It's Silo is basically an apocalyptic show where the world basically gets destroyed, and so 100 some years ago, whoever it was, the government or whoever, created these silos where people are forced to live.
They go down into the ground.
They go down into the ground,
like hundreds of levels.
Hundreds
they're
of
reverse
levels,
skyscrapers in the ground.
Right. And it's interesting. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, it's a lot of good character development.
Yeah.
And I thought season 2 held up pretty well to season 1.
Did it?
I
Wow.
agree.
Yeah. Because I liked season 1 a lot.
I agree. It did.
And they left it as a cliffhanger, getting to the bottom of the silo.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on at the bottom of the silo?
I like Tim Robbins, Rebecca
yeah.
Ferguson,
Right.
Common.
Mm-hmm. They're all good.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Tim Robbins plays like the president of the silo.
The mayor.
Yeah. Right.
The mayor.
And I have to tell you, like, I would say that the ending kind of totally shocked and stunned me.
Oh,
Did
wow.
you too? Like,
Me
I was
too.
like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
so I
okay,
won't-
enough
so-
said. I
so I
can't
won't-
wait to watch
So
it.
I won't give that away.
Yeah.
But that certainly. By the way, they have been renewed for season 3 and 4.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be the end of it, though. Season 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And they are going to delve into that area that they ventured into in the beginning.
Yeah. Well,
At the very end of the last episode.
well, that was the thing. See, I actually finished that today.
Did you?
And I had about 15 minutes to go in the last episode.
Mhm.
And the one thought that it went through my head as I pushed play
Mhm.
to finish the last 15 minutes while I was thinking, I'll review it tonight. And then I thought, Schwaber's probably finished it, was I hope that
Wait,
we-
do I need to be quiet?
no. I hope that we move the needle on this a little bit. Because if we don't, I'm going to get a little tired of constantly living underground.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right.
Like cabin fever. in
Right.
Silo.
Right.
And
Right.
just as I thought that,
Yeah.
the needle moved.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, I can't wait for the next season. So absolutely. Yeah. It's
right. And
it's really good.
there was some wild stuff too, like when you got to walk into that room for the first time. You know what I'm talking about?
the
Like
room. Yeah.
there was some wild stuff going on.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I will say, which I don't care for with streaming, I don't really like it when they don't just give you the full season.
I know Apple, but
right,
Apple's
yeah.
Apple, that's a strategy that I think works really well for Apple.
I mean, it does, because basically I'd get a notification on my phone every Friday that it was ready.
Yep.
And then like every Friday at like
Boom.
11 o'clock, I watched it.
Yeah. Well, see, you know what
know?
that's setting it up for is sponsorship opportunities
Right.
and making money, because now once they collect enough data, they can say these shows Fridays at 9 p.m. we drop the new show. This is when we get the most eyeballs. That's
Right.
what it's setting it up for.
Right.
So then
Right.
they can increase subscription prices to make it ad free.
Right. But it is a little
Call me a
frustrating.
genius.
No, that's right.
It is a little frustrating though when you're like really into it. You're like, I gotta wait a whole week. For the
You know
next one.
You know what's funny is that I go back and forth.
You can
There-
always just wait and wait till it's all out.
You can.
I've
but,
done that.
You know,
I've done
yeah.
that.
I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like Severance is coming back out. The
Right.
season 2 of Severance. Did you watch season 1?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you gotta watch.
You gotta
it.
watch
one.
You gotta
it's
watch.
really
it.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually am gonna have to go back and watch. Season
Yeah, it's been a while. It's
Yeah.
been like what, 3 years?
Yeah, because it was a pandemic thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right. I am
It's
gonna
such
have
an
to go
awesome
back.
show.
It was really
such an
good.
awesome
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
I was like, why is there not a season 2 out yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it ends, as I recall, kind of like, well, maybe there isn't a season 2.
Well, you could go either way,
Yeah.
but it leans towards it. And then there were rumors, and then of course we got it. So okay, the Grand Schwabini Silo season 2 on Apple TV Plus. Both Steve and I agree on this one. Great show. You should watch it. Pick it up. Watch season 1, then go on and watch season 2. Because of that fact today, there was one thing that I watched that I will maybe review next week that I finished.
Okay.
That I'm not even going to mention right now. It was not a documentary, but I thought, if I watch this, it's like too much of the same theme. So I decided I'm going to give this a whirl, and I was able to watch it in this afternoon. It's my day off.
I bet I know what it is.
What is it?
Jerry Springer.
Oh, come on. You looked at it. You looked at it.
I want to watch it too.
Yeah.
I love Jerry.
Actually, I watched this.
Did you?
Jerry Springer fights camera action on Netflix.
Dude, I forgot I watched it because I like watched it in one night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's two episodes.
Yeah, it's like a super quick watch.
Yeah.
It talks about, the beginning of the Jerry Springer show, the rise to overtaking Oprah as the #1 daytime show,
which is amazing.
Which was amazing.
Right.
Then it goes into, for anybody who remembers the Jerry Springer show,
it was
mayhem.
Right.
It was just absolute mayhem.
Right.
But the interesting thing is it goes behind the scenes with the executive producer,
right,
and then all the other producers, and how they had to try to generate these shows and find these people.
Right.
And it goes into a little bit of who Jerry Springer was as the man, former newscaster, councilman, mayor of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
What I forgot was that the first 2 years of that show,
it was just a normal talk
horrible.
show.
Right.
It was just a normal talk show.
Right.
And then they bring in this tabloid guy who's the guy who's like, UFOs got Elvis, and he just pushes the envelope and pushes the envelope. And then basically it run its course.
Right.
But it's a great nostalgic and it really was the reason that television went, one of the reasons that it went in the direction it's gone.
Right.
And everything
shock TV.
What I thought was great was the Bermuda Triangle of the Jerry Springer show. And it kind of encompasses like a little right outside of Western PA. And then it goes down into like Kentucky and Tennessee and Georgia. And it's like, so they're getting all the hillbillies.
Right.
And then the lady was like, then he was accused, they were accused of faking it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then they brought somebody on from Boston, and the lady was like, I don't even know why I decided to put them on the show. I should have known they were from Boston, and they were faking it.
They were faking it. They fooled the producer, and she got fired because of it.
Yeah, she got fired. And what I didn't like, though, I felt really bad for the kid whose mom got murdered by one of the guests on the show.
Oh.
But it was months and months later,
right?
And they had problems beyond the show, and I kind of agreed.
Right.
I never did I watch it occasionally. Did I think it was trash? Yes, I did.
Yeah, right.
But
that's why you were watching it.
Exactly.
It was fun on some level.
Yeah.
And and I also agree, I saw the coming attraction for it. So when Jerry says like, it's just television, folks. We'll all get past it.
He was at a Chicago City Council meeting. They were giving him shit about it.
Right. It's just a TV show.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like,
which I agree with completely.
Yeah. And he did push the narrative that like, what I want on here is truth. I want these people to be real. But they did fire them up. They would take them out, get them hammered.
Yeah.
Well, they knew that the ratings skyrocketed anytime they had violence.
Yeah.
So they were like hoping for violence on every show.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see like what's with the guy who's like, I'll talk about this once and then never again.
Yeah.
Like I'm interested what the heck happened with him?
Yeah, you'll see. You'll see. You'll see. You'll see. So anyway, listen, Jerry Springer fights camera action on Netflix. A little bit of nostalgia there. Pretty good, quick documentary to watch. Gives you an inside, behind the scenes look at the Jerry Springer show and how it rose to prominence. And what I'm hoping is that we can kind of push that envelope here in the sports porch, and
we're going to have some violence.
Well, I mean, I think we need to get into some people's faces.
You think we should go Springer?
Maybe we should have a food fight instead of food time.
I think we should go full on Springer. Schwaber, are you up for that?
Full on Springer.
All right. Yeah. Permission from Schwaber.
I'm not.
Catch me outside.
Come on, you are.
If you push me far enough, I will.
That's exactly right. We'll
Catch
get you
me outside. That's what I'm saying.
We'll get you all liquored up. Yeah, I know.
No, I get calmer when I get liquored up.
That's true. All right, we'll give you Coke. Anyway, you've been watching the Sports Porch live all over the world on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and listening on Radio PGH at radiopgh.com. And of course, I'm going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts.
Anywhere.
And yes, remember, subscribe, leave us a review, and subscribe to to the Sports Podcast on YouTube at the Sports Podcast. For the Grand Schwabini, for Hockey Jesus, I am your technical director, and I am out.
Jump